Hello and welcome back to The Load-In, a United Theater podcast with me, your host, Lee Metzger. Today I am joined by Emmy and Peabody Award-winning comedian Paul Mecurio ahead of his show here at the United on March 8th. Today we're talking about Paul's unconventional path to comedy, his work writing on The Daily Show and The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and how he gets people to open up on his improvisational comedy show, Permission to Speak. So stick around for more on Paul. It's The Load-In. Hello and welcome back to the show. Today I'm very excited to be joined by comedian Paul Mecurio. Paul, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, happy to be here, man. It's great to see you again.
Great to see you as well. Rhode Island's own The Prodigal Son returns. Are you excited to be coming back to your home state?
Absolutely. I'm up there a lot anyway. You know, my mom still lives there. My brother lives in Cumberland. My sister lives in Narragansett. My wife and I are both from there. We went to high school together in Providence, so we got a lot of connections up there. So the family would rather have me stay away because I'm very annoying, but they can't keep me away. If for no other reason, I got to get my dose of coffee milk every once in a while, which is, you know, only in Rhode Island. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And a true Rhode Islander, I have autocrat coffee syrup in my refrigerator in New York City, ready to go at any time. So, but yeah, I'm really psyched to be back and to be coming to the United Theater again. We had a great show last year and awesome plays. Staff is great. Love what you guys did to the venue to turn it into what it is. So I'm really psyched. Thanks, man. That means a lot. Yeah, we're very happy. We're very lucky to be landing some really good talent, and you are obviously included. You talking to me or a guy behind me? So this Permission to Speak show, this will be the second year that we're going to have it here at the United Theater. Right. You focus a lot on, well, the entire show is listening to people's stories, and we've got a clip here that talks about being a parent and some of the yeah. So before we jump into that real quick, so look, sure. The show was born out of my doing stand-up and talking to audiences and what people will call crowd work, but a lot of crowd work is like just crowd work where the guys or the comics just talking to the person about their hat, but they don't really give a crap about the hat. It's just like, a way to get to their jokes about hats and try to make it look like they just came up with the joke about a hat off the top of their head and they didn't, blah blah blah. But then I just have this natural curiosity, and I think part of it came from working in the family furniture business, and my mother and father had me selling furniture when I was like 12 years old, so you kind of develop this like a gift for gab, whatever, and like sure. And you know, because I'm hustling old ladies to sell sofas, you know how it is. I'm crushing it, you know. I don't know if locking the door counts as hustling. yeah, that's true. Interesting sales tactic.
Hey, it works.
It works, man. You know, you just got to trademark the sales tactic, and that's you do seminars around the country. How to lock customers in the store and make them buy. It's all in the written. Exactly. And so I, when in sort of coming up with this stuff, it wasn't like I said, I'm going to come up with this show. It was born organically out of talking to audiences, but then like asking that second, third, and fourth question. And then like I start about the hat and it's like, why do you wear a hat inside? I'm cold. Why are you cold? Well, when I was a kid, such and such happened. How did that happen? Well, my father. Wait, your father did what? So like you end up down this path where it's always some gold because everybody has a story. And if you give them an opportunity, they'll tell you their story because they know I'm not going to compromise them. It's not about making fun of people. I'm just really interested. So that's how the show was born. And so Frank Oz is directing it. The great Frank Oz, who created the Muppets and Yoda and directed Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. And he really likes it because the premise of the show is we're disconnected and divisive and sort of nameless and faceless, but if we get together and share stories, realize we have a lot more in common than we think, and maybe we don't have to be so divisive. And I know audiences like the message. Frank loves the message and why he got involved in the show. And the venues like you and other venues have saying to me, given how crazy things are, this isn't a political show, but given how we're trying to do programming that brings our community together instead of divides them, and so this is a perfect show for that. So that's how it was born. Just organically out of like just more and more of these crazy stories. And so, and then the book never meets the cover, right? Like you'll see somebody like this guy that we're going to talk. He was at the United, and he's a hunter from like Ashaway, Rhode Island or something, like the wooded areas of Rhode
Not
Island.
a performer type.
Not a performer. Nobody's a performer. And not a guy, not to sound whatever, but if you looked at him from the outside, you wouldn't think him to be very introspective. But here's what he had to say. You're very funny, by the way.
Though my wife doesn't agree with you.
Is your wife here?
No.
What's the hardest thing about being a parent?
Always thinking you made mistakes, probably.
I know, right?
But you have to make mistakes, I think.
You think so?
That's how you become a better person.
That's great. I've made mistakes.
We all make mistakes. That's literally the definition.
My son's
of
here.
a human.
Alex, did I make mistakes?
At least one, right?
Too good.
So that clip is a perfect microcosm of the show, right? You meet this guy. He just looks like he's a kind of an average guy. He's funny. People are very funny. Like if you're with your friends, you're funny. And I think what happens with my show is very quickly they feel like they're just hanging out with a bunch of their friends in a big bar or whatever, basement or something. So like they let their guard down. People know how to tell jokes. You don't have to be a professional. They know where punchlines are inherently, instinctively. So here he is. He's just he's self-effacing. He jokes about his wife doesn't think he's funny. He's crushing it. And then I ask him this question, and he takes a real moment, and then off of the real moment, organically in the moment, we get a natural laugh off of him saying, "I made one mistake with my son." Right?
Yeah.
And so the jokes never come at anybody's expense. They come out of just the moment, and that's what's really cool about it. And so I really loved him in that clip because he represented just the average person with a really smart take on life who was really funny.
I think another thing that we see in that clip that you do a really good job in, and I think that contemporary comedians, younger ones, it seems, have an issue. They love to say like, I'm saying the things that nobody else wants to say, or like, the cancel culture of it all. But when someone is like, hey, that thing made me feel bad, they're like, First Amendment, blah, blah, blah. I think what you do very, very well is you allow yourself to be up there and be the one who receives the jokes. You allow yourself to be the butt of the jokes, to kind of open up and make other people feel like they can be vulnerable in a way, in a safe way, knowing that they are, if there is fun to be poked, it's likely going to come at your expense and not theirs.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there is fun, it's always organic to what's happening, and not like, oh, out of left field, I'm going to, like that clip we just saw, the guy was wearing like a hat. And like, I know we've talked about this, but like what I can't do is you're talking to me and you say something maybe about your kid, and I've got 10 jokes, which I literally have about raising a kid. And then I start jamming my jokes in. Yeah. And like, and I love my jokes. And I love my jokes, and my jokes are always organic to who I am. Like one of the things I say, and it's not really a joke, it's like, you're as a parent and anybody watching and listening, you love your kid, but there are some days you wish he'd walk into the woods and never come back because they take up all of your time.
It's real.
It's like, and so like, I remember going on a baseball tournament trip with my son for 3 days. My wife said, "You go, father-son bonding weekend," and I went. And at the end of the weekend, it hit me that I don't really care for the kid.
You kept on pulling into rest stops and being like, God, I guess, yeah.
Can I just leave him here? Look, when you go to the hotel, he wants a grilled cheese sandwich. It's like $15 for a grilled cheese sandwich. They burn one corner of it. The little baby can't eat it. I got another grilled cheese sandwich, and the parents were like, it's our Saturday night too. Yeah. Everything is for them that weekend. Like, I want to go to a strip club, and he started complaining. He's 7 years old, but walk it off. Yeah. Jack Daniels is burning my throat. All right, just walk it off.
Grow up. Here's some dirt.
Exactly. But no, it isn't about it. So my point in that is, especially my director, Frank Oz, is like, don't force the funny. let it come to you, and it'll bubble up and it'll appear, and then you'll take it, grab it, and make it even funnier. And so that's kind of what just happens up there, and the stories have been insanely good. Like,
it's interesting. It's improvisation. The entire show is improvisational. And I come from an improv background. I'm a student of the UCB style of finding the funny, unusual thing, and then exploring the game of it and the game of the scene. And I see those tenets in what you're talking about of finding the unusual thing. So, a couple minutes ago, you said, I asked a question, they respond. I ask a follow-up question, they respond. And then the third, and then usually it's like, it's an unusual, like, your dad does what? Like,
yeah.
And then so now you found the game, and then you explore the game, and then it's always, because people are funny. Like you said, people have weird experiences. Everybody has a unique and individual experience while still having universal experiences. So just allowing them the space and ability to be vulnerable and speak truth. And then you can find just amazing, universal while still being unique stories.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit it on the head. And because one of the things I'm trying to do with the show in a subtle way is just, and I say this in the beginning, is say whatever you want. Don't walk on eggshells. Now, I'm not going to say somebody could be just nasty and politically incorrect and inappropriate for the sake of that, because that's just childish behavior.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that you can, like, basically, my show is a place where you can say what you want to say and not be offended. Like, I'm Italian, I'm 100% Italian, and I'm a stereotype. I talk with my hands, I'm kind of loud, I'm all over the place. I got a cousin who runs numbers for the mob. Like, instead
hold on.
His name is
No.
And so, like, my point is, like, we've gotten to a point, and I believe in political correctness, like, everybody's afraid of offending somebody. So, like, you got to be careful what you got to say. My wife and I were walking our dog in Central Park, and dog's supposed to be on a leash. Ours was. This guy's dog wasn't on a leash. It was really scary dog and big and scaring kids. And my wife just said to him, your dog should be on a leash, nicely, but,
true statement.
Yeah. And he goes like this. Why? Because it's a pit bull, like, implying that we were, like, racist toward pit bulls. And I'm like, no, because it's got a baby in its mouth. That's why. Okay. Because it has prison tattoos and it has a switchblade. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
it is wielding a gun.
Exactly.
What's the issue?
Yeah. So I think in my show, what you're also going to get is, and I lead the charge on this, is you're just going to say what's on your mind. Like, because I think we've been told that we got to be careful to say what's on our mind because things have gotten so tense and tight. And so, I know we have a clip. This is a clip of a guy with polio. And he's really interesting because I asked him, like, I never met anybody with polio. So I have all these questions about polio. And I'm like one of them was like, can you be aroused with polio? He goes, hell yeah. Like, really proud. The crowd goes crazy. And then I go, how do you explain polio to your kid? Because he had a kid. And this is what he says. But what Frank Oz likes about this clip is, if you'll notice in the beginning, I just say to him, hey, what's your name? He goes, Travis. And then I point at his crutches and I go, what's your issue here? And Frank goes, I don't know how you get away with it, but, like, you just say, what's your issue? And I go, well, I don't know. The guy's got crutches. They're not like crutches where he broke his ankles. So I don't know. What do you got? I want to know what you got.
The most efficient way to find out the answer to that question is by just asking it.
But the reason that even Frank was like, whatever, is like because we've been conditioned to be careful about what you say to people, especially people that may be, compromised in some way. Whereas if you just talk to them like regular people, like, if you had a broken arm and your arm was in a cast, I'd say to you, why is your arm in a cast?
Yeah.
Like, so anyway, this is that clip, and it's really fun.
Travis, how are you? What do we got here? What's the issue?
Polio.
Oh, yeah? the kids are younger, I would go to the school plays. Obviously, kids would be like, hey, is that your dad? Is he RoboCop? Blah, blah, blah. I would tell the kids, hey, I'm from Vietnam. That's how I got hurt. They were like, really? You were in Vietnam? And I was like, yeah. And it was a joke. But my daughter's 18 now. And a few months ago, she was like, Daddy, were you really in Vietnam? I forgot I told that. I told everybody that when you were like 6, I never fixed it.
And that guy was the star of the night too. But everybody went up to him afterwards, thought his story was great, and that's the connection part of it. People are connecting with each other after the show.
And also, if you just pointing out the thing, this is the thing that we're all looking at and thinking about.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Imagine if I brought him up and I didn't ask him anything about his crutches?
Yeah.
Now, anybody that knows anything knows that those are crutches with somebody with a condition.
That's right.
They'd be sitting there the whole time wondering, either consciously or subconsciously, what does this guy have? Mm-hmm. It would have been ridiculous.
Yep.
So, yeah, and then he was so great.
I think you just have this ability of disarming people by just being real and just sitting in the moment and kind of, pointing out the thing and being like, we're all here. You said earlier, like, we're all here in this basement or whatever, I felt like one thing that I noticed from the show last year is there was an immediate sense of community in that audience, and leaving, it was palpable, of these people who are like slapping each other on the back, being like, great job up there. And you don't really see those. Like, you see other shows that the audience participates and stuff, but none that really build an immediate sense of community and we're in it togetherness, Yeah,
well, I'm glad you noticed that, because it just happened organically from the show. Like the second show we did in New York, people were like not leaving, and I thought there was a problem and we couldn't figure out what was going on. And then we found out later they just wanted to go up and talk to each other. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I love you have polio. That's such a great story. Or that was so cute. And you're right. They're like shaking hands, taking pictures, hugging, whatever. We had a transgender person on stage who was amazing. Mm-hmm. It was a star of the show that night. So it's been this really cool sort of hang where you walk in as strangers, but you can't ever be strangers again, because, as I say in the show, once we know each other's stories, you can't be strangers anymore, and you're connected with each other forever, and the show will never repeat because no show is ever the same. So this is exclusively our show that we own together. Now, I'm doing stand-up and stories too, so people know, like, it's not just all like just the audience. A lot of my stand-up and jokes are in there, but they're weaved into this sort of conversation. But yeah, it's just like, let's get together and hang out and tell some stories and have some laughs and loosen up. It's funny because when I first started doing this, some producers in New York saw me do it and they thought that people were plants. I'm like, they go, how did it all work out? I'm like, I don't know. I just talk to them and I ask them a question. And if it sounds kind of, strange, their answer, I'll say that's strange. I don't know. I just keep asking the questions and they keep giving me answers. And then I had a guy say to me, I go, you look like you're in a bad mood. He goes, yeah, I just broke up with my girlfriend. That's all I said to him. Mm-hmm. I go, what happened? He goes, wouldn't listen to me. I go, what happened? He goes, guy from like the Bronx. He goes, I told her not to shoplift at CVS. And I'm like, wait.
Yep, let's go. Yep.
And he goes, I go, what happened? He goes, well, I taught her how to shoplift. I go, what? He goes, yeah, that's how I make my money. And she saw I was getting nice stuff, and she wanted to learn how to shoplift. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to teach you how to shoplift because you're going to shoplift at stupid places like CVS, and when you should shop at good place. So he wasn't saying don't shoplift. He was just saying if you're going to do it,
you got to be smarter about this.
Go to Nordstrom's, go to Neiman Marcus. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it was just like, and the end of story. What happened? She goes to CVS after he teaches her. She gets busted for stealing lipstick in a hand mirror. Mm-hmm. He gets so mad at her, he breaks up with her in the back of the squad car in front of CVS. Like, we couldn't write that as sketch writers.
That's right. Life is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a really fun ride.
I highly recommend going to see this show. Last year it sold out. This year it's going to sell out again. Get your tickets when you can. It's an amazing show.
Thanks, man.
Paul, at the end of the show, I like to take a look at at my
Bank
podcast.
account?
It's like it's still going down.
Let's go. Let's take a look at it and see what you're doing with your
All right,
finances.
let's pull it up. No, I like to take a look at my podcast page and see if anyone has written a review, and then if they have, I read it live. First time reading it. Do you want to stick around for that?
Yeah, sure. That'd
Awesome.
be great.
All right, very cool. Let's see if anyone left a review on the load in. You can find the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere that podcasts are aggregated. And here we go. Ratings and reviews. No new reviews. So if you want to hear your review read live to tape, then go on Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Give us as many stars as you'd like. Now, before you go, Paul, I noticed that you are a sports guy. You had a show on HBO, and you recorded a pilot for Comedy Central. What do you make of this Luka trade? Opinion?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's put the fear of God into. I think I put the fear of God. It puts the fear of God into all of these big time players who think they could do whatever they want and they're not tradable. And like, you know, he was supposed to sign a $350 million supermax deal, and he blew it all over donuts. Those are the most expensive donuts. The guy's just never in condition, and they're like, why are we going to, because can you imagine if he signs a 300, he's going to balloon to like 315 pounds.
No reason to go to work.
Exactly. He's going to be like chewing on turkey legs and eating pizza during the game. Like, hang on, I can't.
He's already on the bench. He needs to have a meal.
No, they got to stop play because there's pepperoni grease on the ball from him chewing on a pepperoni slice before he goes out. So I think it's great. And then everybody's so worried about LeBron, like he's the second coming of Jesus Christ. Can we get over this guy? He's just a basketball player.
He's 40 years old, and he's one of the top 20 basketball players in the league right now, Paul. What are you talking about?
You shut up. First of all, I'm a Celtics fan, so I can't go too crazy for any Laker, okay? Sure. My Celtics are the best team that ever put on a uniform ever.
Could be a debate there, but
wait a minute, what? And so I think it's good because I think it shook everybody up, and all of these guys, like Kevin Durant, like, oh, he's not happy in Phoenix and he wants to go. So look, you weren't happy in Oklahoma. You got yourself out of there. You went to Brooklyn. You set that whole thing up. You got Kyrie, but you blew out of there. Then you end up in friggin' Phoenix, and you can't make it work there. You were in Golden State. You walked away because you want to do it on your own. Stop it. You're a big friggin' baby. Just shoot the basketball, do your sneaker deal, and go home and play video games or whatever you do. Don't get me started, Lee, okay? Because all these guys are just got to get taken down a notch.
So you think Nico Harrison, good deal, good job, GM. If you're a Dallas fan, you're happy with this move.
Yeah, because they weren't going to win a championship with us. Somebody big.
That is an unhinged opinion.
What do you think?
I think I think Nico Harrison should be fired. It is the worst trade of literally all time. It is the worst trade in NBA history. You're trading a guy who got a little bloated, but we know that's what he does. He's 25 years old. He plays himself into shape. They were in the finals last year. Sure, they lost. A gentleman's sweep. But if you're worried about a guy who doesn't play defense, you build a team around him that does, which they did. And it brought them to the finals. To give up on a guy, a legitimate superstar who could be the future of especially as Dallas being a town that like it was built on European superstars like Dirk, who played for 20 years.
True. Yeah.
It is disrespectful to the fan base. It is disrespectful to the team. And honestly, it's disrespectful to Luka. And I watched him on the sidelines last night for the first game that he was in LA in the stadium for, and he looked like a broken man. My heart goes out to him. I hope he gets the mental health help that he needs on a real note, because that must be devastating. And the financial aspect is brutal. He's losing out on like $115 million or something like that. And it just feels disrespectful to him and it's reported that he was going to resign. Who wouldn't? So I think it's disappointing. It's disappointing. And the fact that he went to the Lakers, how do they keep on doing this?
I know that's the part that, I would rather, especially being a Celtics fan, but like, I understand he's 25, but he's a big boy. He's been warned. And like, I do think that Dallas had issues with their big men. Like they have a couple of good, like Lively's still young and the other guy's really a bench guy. And I don't think they were going to win a championship without a bigger presence. And so they needed it anyway. And like, you know, I would have thought they would have given up Kyrie, but maybe they wouldn't take Kyrie for AD. Like I would have done that. Yeah. I don't like Kyrie. He was an ass in Boston. He's a head case, and he ruined the Nets franchise as well. Like I key his car whenever he comes to town. I don't even know if he has one. I just look at whatever car he comes out of and I key it. So
you can tell it's his because he's got a novelty plate that says Flat Earth. Paul, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for goofing on with me today. It was a pleasure.
It was really fun. Really enjoyed it. Thanks, buddy.
Permission to Speak, March 8th, 7:30. Get your tickets. You're going to want to see this show.
There's a few left. We want to sell this baby out again. I want all my friends, supporters, fans, you know, guys that beat me up in high school, whoever. Got to come.
Welcome.
All right. I'm taking everybody out for Dell's Lemonade after the show.
That's real. All right. This has been The Load In. Thanks again for everybody who's watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to the United Theater Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode, we encourage you to subscribe to our show so you never miss an episode. And if you could take a moment to leave a review, we'd greatly appreciate it. Your feedback helps us